Hello, everybody. Welcome to Writer's Underworld with myself, Richard Rose. The subject of today's video is very sad, very depressing, very commiserating for lots of people. Why do I continue writing even if nobody cares? This was something that I asked myself a long time ago. But before we get into it, how about you go buy one of my books from the internet? It's the links are in the description below. It's some of my newer stuff. I'm not really going to bother to throw my older stuff out there because it'll be a miracle if anybody picks up the newer stuff. So first things first. So yeah, the links are in the description. Why did I continue to pursue writing even if nobody cared? Well, I think it was always in my blood because I was the child of a reader. You know, my mother was a reader and she turned me into a reader. And at some point, being a reader turned me into a writer. And there was one person who inspired me a lot, was Dax Riggs, the singer of Acid Bath, who he was an underground artist and he never gave up, and probably the greatest singer you'll ever hear in your life. And he just kept plugging away even though the whole world was like, whatever. And I was at a formative age of beginning my novels and beginning my failures, and I saw this singer who he just kept going. Even though, he was successful. He's the singer of Acid Bath, and Acid Bath is the greatest band ever. So, but he did inspire me to not give up, because that was probably about the time that I was thinking about giving up. And the other thing was that failure is not an option, really. And if you're thinking about giving up, it's like, why did you even begin? What is it, John F. Kennedy? We don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's hard, or whatever. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be this difficult either, but clown world, everything is more difficult than it needs to be. Why did I continue going even though nobody cared? Well, I'm a writer, and you got to think this is a dying craft. It's a dying art form until the power goes out, and then here we are. Everybody says that literature is a dying art form because they've got movies and the internet and streaming and gaming and la-di-da. But dude, if you're in, this is not what I said, but James Michener, who is a fantastic novelist, he said, when you're trapped alone in a cabin in the wilderness for the winter, you want a big fat book to keep you company. You don't want a puny little thing. You need a big fatty. But those were the olden times, and now I guess if you're in a cabin in the wilderness all alone, you got Starlink. So, solar power or whatever they do. But if the power went out, people would be happy to have books. And it's not just about that. Why do you give up if no one cares? Why does nobody care? People don't really read anymore. That's not true. Readers still read. Readers will continue to read. That's why the big thing now is like people don't have time to read, but they still love audiobooks, myself included. I haven't read an actual book in a very long time. When I was younger, I read books all the time. But, now all I do is drive a tractor trailer and listen to audiobooks. But I'm still reading all the time. So there are readers. I think they want us to believe that there's not really readers anymore, but a lot of the readers are listeners. But I think listening is a valid a valid way to consume literature, because the first real book I ever read was read to me. My mother read me Jurassic Park when I was a little boy. And then a little while later, I picked up The Lost World. And that was the first book I ever read. But so the first book I ever read that was a real book was read to me, Jurassic Park. Why do I persist even if no one cares? I don't know. I think if I gave up as soon as I realized nobody cared, I would have been I would have not even gotten this far. This is the first tiny little thing that I wrote. I would not have even done this, because it was pretty evident. It was pretty evident from the beginning that nobody cares. And that's kind of just part of the journey, I think. You know, when you're successful, people will care. I don't know anything about that, but I've observed it, in others. Not that I don't really believe in reality. I don't believe these people really exist. I don't think their books were written by persons. I don't think the world is populated by persons. But that's why I'm a fiction writer, because I see things differently. But if you take things at face value, some people do become successful, and then people care because, oh, look at this guy, he's successful. Meanwhile, I'm over here in the underworld, unsuccessful, under successful. I think I'm quite successful, because to me, my metric of success is all of these successes you see over here. You can count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lots and lots of successes. Because to me, I wanted to be a novelist. I'll tell you why. Because when I read The Lost Worlds of Jurassic Park, I remember I was a little boy and I was looking at all the pages, and I couldn't really read or write, at the time. I guess I could read because I was reading it, but I don't think I could write. And I was thinking, how could somebody possibly make all of these words on these pages? I cannot even make just a little bit of words on any pages. And somebody made all these words on these pages. And how is that possibly possible? And I thought it was magic or some sort of sorcery, But as it turned out, years and years later, that became the thing that I did. And even just being able to do it was a success in and of itself, It's integrity. The answer to the question is integrity. Why do you persist even though nobody cares? Integrity. You don't owe anybody integrity except for yourself. You do owe yourself integrity, or else you're failing yourself. We're talking about writing here, but this applies to everything in life. Is what is more important than integrity? It's okay to have a failure of integrity, but as long as you are aware of what's happening. I've had lots of failures of integrity, but I never failed the integrity of my writing. Just keep on trucking. Why do we persist even though nobody cares? Why would somebody caring, be the determining factor? That's a lot of these people who are like, they want money out of it. But I'll tell you something about getting money from writing, all right? If you're an independent author and you produced 10,000 novels. You are a super successful independent author who put out 10,000 novels. Say they're not very long, you put it out through Ingram Spark, you get maybe $3.50 per novel, all things considered. And then So you sold 10,000 novels, got $3.50 per novel. You made $3,500. That's extremely successful, and for most of us, unrealistic. Even to come close to anything like that, unrealistic. But driving tractor trailer trucks, I made that amount of money in less than 6 months. So you can have a once in a lifetime success as an independent author, and you can make what a truck driver makes in 6 months. So is the truck driver more successful than the independent author? Well, you can't really compare the two things. So if you're thinking about your success in terms of monetary gain, that's not a way to do it. But I would say, that person has 10,000 readers, and that's the real success of writing. And that's where I failed. It's like, I've always thought of it as giving birth to a stillborn baby. It's a very sad thing because you write for the readers, and then the readers do not exist, and the book, it has no life other than, inside of your mind. The book is alive, but it's like it's trapped and it doesn't go anywhere, and that's no way to live. Your little baby book cannot live like that. A book needs writers to breathe life into it, and vice versa. Readers need books. But there's something like the diamond trade happening with artists of all variety. But I know it from the writer's perspective. They control the supply, they control the demand, they control the value. That's why you've got the gatekeepers. That's why the agents will not talk to you. That's why the publishers will not talk to you, because they're controlling the supply, to control the demand, to control the value. It's all about control. The gatekeepers are not there to let you in. The gatekeepers are there to keep you out, right? And that's how they control the value of any sort of artist, I would imagine, a talent of any kind, or anything of value. They want to control the supply, control the demand, control the value. And so it's harsh, because we put our heart and soul into what we do, and then we come up against a wall, where there's supposed to be a gate, but it's just a wall. But it's a simple answer to the question, why do we persist in the face of failure? Or if nobody cares, why do we keep doing it? It's we care, we have integrity, and that's what it's all about. Because you're not going to become a great writer without the integrity to get through. I mean, all the things you got to go through to be a great writer. This is one of the minimal things. It's a early problem. It's a long ago problem. It's something you don't even think about after a little while. It's sort of this is something my wife proposed to me, was, why do you keep going even though nobody cares? And I haven't thought about it for years and years, over a decade. I haven't thought. This is like something I thought about in like my first 2 or 3 years of writing. No, nobody cares. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe I should just call it quits. And then you're like, no, because how are you ever going to write novels like that? You're not. You're not going to be a novelist. If people care, then How are you going to do it? You're not going to do it. And that's it. All right, so that's today's episode of Writer's Underworld with your host, myself. Peace and love.